I'm Nikki and welcome to the Preppy Possum. Today I'm going to lead you step by step through a painting. So now let's paint a walkway to the beach. So grab like a huge brush, so like a number 1, and dry it off. And we'll start by grabbing some off-white. See, some off-white. You can even have a little sandy tan or yellow with it, but off-white on a big brush. And we're just gonna skip down about halfway down our canvas and throw you a little line across. It's about halfway, and throw you a little line. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna have the waves crashing on it anyway. And then once you get that line, we're just gonna skip down a little bit from it. And we're gonna throw a bumpy little line. It can kind of lean up. Lean up and then take it all the way over to the right. So all the way across. And then we'll just fill in all in between those lines just to get us a little layer of beach on there. All right. Then let's go ahead and wipe that one off and rinse it out a little bit in the water and dry it off. And let's still use a huge brush. Let's just kind of rinse it out and dry it off. And now we're gonna grab some pool blue. It's like a lighter blue. And we're just gonna skip up just a smidge from our sand. So just like 1.5 inches or 2, and throw you a little line across. And then once you have that line, just grab a bunch of that pool blue and we're just gonna fill in all above it. So grab a lot of paint and just go for it. It doesn't matter which way your brush strokes go because we're gonna come back and throw a bunch more paint. So a bunch of pool blue and fill in your whole sky. And don't worry about it being streaky because we're going to come back and streak back in there anyway. And then once you have a layer through your sky, I go ahead now and grab some turquoise. So some turquoise blue and maybe even a little bit of dark blue. And let's throw a layer in through our ocean. So all in between your sky and your beach. We're just gonna get a first little layer. So that turquoise with some dark blue and just fill in that whole little streak in between. All right. Now let's just wipe off our extra and chunk that one in the water. And let's grab a little bit smaller brush, so like a number 8 is a good size, and dry it off. And we'll grab some light gray. You can even have a little dark gray with it, but mostly like a light gray. And we're just gonna skip in at least like 7 inches or so from that bottom right hand corner, and through your little line that goes straight up. And then once you have your line that goes straight up, then you're just going to skip down just a smidge from the top of the line and throw your little line that goes over to the right for just like an inch or so, an inch or a little over an inch. And then we're going to throw a diagonal that leans towards the bottom right. So it just has a little bit of a diagonal right off of that line. And then once you have that, just grab a bunch of light gray, and we're going to throw a little layer all in there just to get some paint on there. So just to fill it all in. And then we'll just skip over from our walkway just at least like an inch or so, and we're going to throw a line that just parallels the walkway. So this is our railing. So you just want it to parallel that diagonal. And it comes up like the same distance as that line we started with. So the same height as that line we started with. And don't worry if it gets a little wonky because we can thin it up anyway. And then once you have your railing on there, then we're going to throw a few little supports. So whenever you're throwing these, you don't want to do these at a diagonal. You want these straight up and down. So I'm just going to throw like 2 little supports and just throw them straight up and down. And now, while we're working on our walkway, let's go ahead and grab a little bit of dark gray. You can even grab a little purple with it, so dark gray and a little purple. And let's throw a few dark streaks through your walkway just to get it kind of started. So we're going to start by streaking up our railing. So the left-hand side, throw a streak or 2. And then through our little railing on the right, throw a streak or 2. And the same thing through your supports. And then through the walkway, we're going to streak side to side. So I would throw you some streaks like that come from the left-hand side, some streaks that come from the right. You just kind of want to make sure you have some streaks everywhere. And we'll come back and streak again with some more colors. But just skip around, make sure you have some that go near that bottom edge. We just want to get a good little start to our streaks. All right, now we'll let that dry for a little bit. So wipe off your extra and chunk that one in the water. And let's grab a huge brush again. So grab a huge brush and dry it off. And we're going to grab some caramel brown. So grab some caramel. You can even have a little bit of yellow with it. And we're going to start by filling in all of like the bottom part of our beach, so where our seagrass and our dunes are. So you just want that caramel kind of color. You can even have a little yellow. And just use the huge brush and get all the big areas. We can get a smaller brush to get right up next to our walkway. But I would get all the part like to the bottom of your canvas and then all the way up next to your beach. And don't worry if you have like a little bit of blue or anything in this brush, because seagrass is going to have a lot of different colors. So don't worry if you still had some blue from the sky. But we're going to take it all the way to our off-white. Just want to get all the big areas with this big brush. Now we have all the big areas. Now let's switch out to a smaller brush. So just wipe off your extra and chunk that one in the water. And let's switch out to like a number 6 and use the same color. So number 6, and dry it off and use that same caramel kind of color. And now we're gonna get all the way up next to our walkway. Now we have us a little layer of the caramel all the way up next to our walkway. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab like a number 8, so like a clean number 8, and dry it off. And we'll grab some bright white. And now we're gonna throw a few clouds through our sky. So number 8 with a bright white. And to throw the clouds, kind of start small. So I would kind of draw them on a little bit small. So grab like a number 6 or number 8 and dry it off. And we're just using the white. And we're throwing we'll throw in a quick little first layer through all of our clouds. So I would kind of keep them like bigger towards the top and a little bit skinnier on the sides. So draw them in kind of small because they're always going to grow on you. But once you get a little cloud on there, then just grab the white and we're going to fill it in with a circular motion. And you can make it, as cloudy as you want. But I would throw you at least 3 or 4. But keep them kind of skinnier towards the sides just so they kind of taper. You can even have 1 or 2 that go off the edge. But just kind of fill them in with a circular. And then I might throw like a bigger one over here. And then once you have a good first layer, so you have all your clouds on there, then I would grab a little bit of like seafoam in light blue, and through the bottom of all your clouds, let's just do a few little whoops like you're going underneath the dime, like a little smiley. So you're not making the clouds any bigger, you're just kind of throwing it right through the bottom. It'll kind of help it look fluffy. So the light blue and the seafoam, and we're just throwing like little whoops, like a little smiley towards the bottom. And if it's not showing up, just grab a little bit more seafoam. But that's a good little start. Now let's go ahead and wipe that one off. So you don't have to rinse it out, just kind of wipe it off. Unless you got something crazy in your brush. But just kind of wipe it off and grab some more bright white. And now through our ocean, we're gonna do a few little waves. So load your brush and just kind of bounce it just a little bit. Just kind of barely dab. And we're just doing some long streaks. They can be a little bit thicker in a few places, but we're just gonna do a few of these. It's just like the waves kind of crashing in the middle, and then we'll have some crashing on the beach. So once you have a few in the middle, then we'll just have some that crash on the beach. So right there where that dark touches that off-white. Good little start to our waves. So let's go ahead now and wipe off our extra. And let's grab some turquoise and pool blue together. And we're gonna throw a little bit of that through our sky. So like up here at the top left, just anywhere where I would kind of keep like, you don't want to do your whole sky, just in a few places. I'm going to add a little bit darker up here at the top. And if yours gets too dark on you, just grab more pool blue. But I'm just kind of thickening up the top part of my sky with some pool blue and a little bit of turquoise. And then I'm just gonna grab even a little bit of purple and throw a few purple streaks just side to side. And it's easier to streak this purple in when it's still wet. So like while you're working on that sky, once you have the blue on there, then just kind of streak with your purple. Kind of all through the top where we've already thickened up. I would just go in and streak with some purple. Then I would grab some more pool blue like we used in our sky before, with even a little bit of light blue, and kind of thicken up the bottom part of our sky. So all through the bottom, just kind of thicken it up. You're using like that pool blue like we used before, with even a little bit of light blue. And you don't want to get like right up next to your clouds, but just kind of all in between them where you can. And we're getting the whole bottom part of our sky with another layer. And then we'll grab a little bit more purple. And we'll throw a little bit of purple in there too. But once you have some purple, a little bit of purple going on through your sky, then we'll use that same brush and grab some of the dark blue and turquoise with some purple. And let's throw a few streaks through our walkway. But we'll just use the darker blues and purple. And now we're gonna throw a few streaks through our walkway. So I would start like with the handrails again. And don't worry that it's really bright, because we'll come back and streak back in with some grays. But we're gonna throw some through our little handrails and our supports. And then we'll throw some in through our walkway too. So just kind of throw you some in through the sides. All right, so that got us a little bit of dark. We'll come back and throw some more gray. Keep the 2 blues on your brush, and now we're gonna skip back to our water. So skip back to the ocean, and now we're just gonna kind of thicken up just the places where you didn't have the white. So just add you a little bit more, another layer of water. So now we got our water thickened up. So let's wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. We're gonna grab a little bit smaller brush. So number 4, and dry it off. And now let's grab some of that caramel kind of color like we used before with a little bit of tan. And now we're gonna add a bunch of seagrass. So to do that, you wanna load your brush with a lot of paint, and then always come up with your stroke. So load your brush with a lot of paint, and you're kind of always working down to up. And just skip around. So if you're OCD, make sure you're kind of really skipping so they won't be all in a perfect line or anything. And make sure you have a few that come up over this edge. But we're just using that caramel with a little bit of tan. And we're skipping all around. Just make sure you're adding a few that pop over our little line. And we'll come back and add a few more in a second with like a different color, but we're just gonna try to hide that line a little bit. You can even throw like a few little grass, little seagrass, a few little patches that come up above. So we have a good little start with the caramel and tan. So now let's grab a little bit of yellow and even some green with that caramel color. And now let's throw a few of those. So it's a little bit of yellow and like a slimy limey green with the caramel and tan that we were using. And we're just gonna skip around and throw a few with that color. So I have a few that come up over the edge, Make sure when you're doing your seagrass that you have some at the very bottom too. That way it doesn't look like you just skipped up and had the seagrass. So make sure you have some that go off that very bottom edge. So now we have a few of the green kind of color. Let's grab a little bit of off-white with that color and throw a few that are even lighter. So same colors we used before, like the yellow, slimy, limey with those tans, but then grab a little bit of an off-white with it. And then you can even have a few lighter blades. And don't worry if it's looking like it's going on really light. Usually it dries a little bit darker, so it's not going to be quite as bright, quite as light once it dries. So now we have us a few light blades of grass. Let's skip in and throw just a few like caramel, a few more caramel, anywhere where we needed to hide that line or anywhere where it's a little bit thin. All right, so we have us a good little start to our grass. So now let's work on our walkway a little bit more. So wipe off your extra and let's grab some more of the two grays. I would just grab a little bit more dark gray than we did before. So light gray and dark gray together. And now we're gonna go back and streak through our railings. You just don't wanna cover up all like the purples and blues we threw on there. You still want those showing. And then we'll come back and streak through our walkway. And through our walkway, remember, we want them mainly going like side to side. And when you're blending like this, usually the more paint you have on your canvas, the easier it is to blend. So I'd go back in and throw you some grays, but then if you need to go back and throw blues, purples, just the more paint you have on there, the easier it is. So I might throw me a little bit more purple since I got rid of the purple. And when you're doing your walkway, like one important part is to make sure like this outside line is pretty straight. So if you need to straighten that up, you can go along the edge of it and then just kind of streak off of it, just so it won't look like a a perfect little line over there. I would get the line on there first and then kind of streak off of it. Maybe even throw a little bit of caramel in there with it in a few places. But I think that got our walkway looking a little bit better. It's still pretty wet. And then we'll wipe off our extra and chunk that one in our water. And let's add a little bit more to our clouds, and then I think we'll be good. So let's grab like whatever size you want, but like a number 6 is probably a good size. And rinse it out and dry it off. And we'll grab some more white. And we're gonna go ahead and throw another layer just kind of in through the top of our clouds. So you're not trying to cover up, you know, all of the cloud. We're gonna do less whoops this time than we did before. So just a few with the white and more towards the top of our clouds this time. And you're still kind of going in a circular motion. You're just not filling in the whole cloud. You wanna leave some of that seafoam and light blue towards the bottom. But just kind of play with it, like everybody kind of does clouds differently. But we're just gonna kind of fluff them up through the top. And then once you get them fluffed, I think that's looking pretty good. We'll let it dry for a second. If you need to go back and add any more of the light blue and seafoam, you can grab that and add a few more streaks through the bottom anywhere where you know, paint it over. But let's go ahead and wipe that one off and chunk it in the water. And let's grab a teeny tiny brush, it's like a number 1, and we'll go ahead and sign it. Now we have a walkway at the beach. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to check us out. We're on Cox Street in Asheboro. And be sure to check out our website, www.thepreppypossum.com.